Hey guys, it's Generalkidd here. How's everyone doing today? So, for today's video, well, I got something really awesome to show you guys. So recently, a new Halo 3 beta, well, technically not new, but a never before seen Halo 3 beta is basically like out in the wild. And with that, I figured we'd take a look at it and see if there's anything interesting in it. And indeed, there's actually quite a few interesting things in this beta that we've pretty much never seen before. So let's get right into it. So one of the first things we're going to be taking a look at is the map Valhalla. So on this map, I mean, you know, aside from like the main menu stuff that you saw that's different, we're going to be looking specifically at like, you know, weapons and vehicles and equipment and stuff like that. So starting with the map Valhalla, the Banshee on this map is, well, it's very unique and you may recognize it. And if you do recognize it, that is because this is the Heretic Banshee from Halo 2. And it's the exact Banshee model from Halo 2. The same textures and everything. It's unchanged. And I'm assuming it's just like a placeholder used from Halo 2. So during development of Halo 3, I'm guessing they, you know, just temporarily in the beginning reused a lot of stuff from Halo 2. Now I'm kind of surprised they still had like Halo 2 placeholders, because this build of Halo 3 was apparently made in March of 2007. And March 2007, that's 6 months before Halo 3 actually released. So yeah, that surprised me a little bit. Now this next one is very interesting. This little device right here, this piece of equipment, it's you know, I wasn't sure what it was at first, but I was actually told that it's a very interesting piece of equipment, and that is because it is a bubble shield. Now, in some early Halo 3 footage, you may have seen a bubble shield that looks like a flare that rolls around. But this one, I've never seen this before, except in one other place, which is the Starry Night trailer of Halo 3, where it's like a bubble shield grenade that Master Chief throws on the ground and it activates. That's pretty much what this bubble shield is. It looks very similar to the one from the Starry Night trailer. So it turns out all along that this version of the bubble shield is actually real. I always thought that it was just some like concept version in the Starry Night trailer, but it turns out there actually was a build of Halo 3 out there that actually used that version of bubble shield. But of course it was changed eventually. Now, this next thing is actually really cool. So on the map High Ground, there is a shade turret. Now you may think there's nothing really exciting about a shade turret, right? Wow, this is what it looks like. Now you may be thinking, oh, it's just an incomplete shade turret and didn't get its textures yet, right? Well, partially. What's really interesting about the shade turret is that it actually walks. It's a walker essentially, and yeah, you could walk around with it, and then you could fire the plasma cannon on it. It's a really awesome vehicle, essentially a mobile shade turret. And it's, you know, it's been cut from the game. It doesn't exist anymore at all in the main version of Halo 3. But it's really cool that this shade turret actually existed in this state. Now, it's slow. It walks very slowly, and it struggles at climbing stairs, as you can see here. But that's probably because the stairs are too small. However, I couldn't really climb the stair at all there. But anyways, moving right along. Next up on a map, Snowbound. This map apparently was supposed to have a Banshee originally. On the final version of Halo 3 and on MCC, there is no Banshee on Snowbound in the game files at all. But apparently, I guess at some point it was meant to have a Banshee, but that was removed, obviously. And as for the Wraith, this version of the Wraith, there actually is an AA Wraith in the game. However, the AA Wraith, color-wise, looks the same as the regular Wraith. But the rest is pretty much the same, you know, the AA cannons. However, instead of firing like fuel rods, it's firing plasma bolts. Now, if you look closely, it is firing it, you know, in certain intervals, just like the actual AA Wraith does. But it's, you know, it's just regular plasma bolts instead. Now, as for weapons on Snowbound, there's this very interesting weapon here called an Excavator. And what it is this is actually like a prototype version of the Mauler. See, in the game files, the Mauler is actually called the Excavator, and that's still the case with the you know, the final version of Halo 3 and MCC. But at this point in the game, in this beta, it was still called an Excavator, But I guess they changed the Mauler. They changed the name of it to Mauler from Excavator at some point. But this is what it looked like at back in March of 2007. Now, the trip mine. So we all know the trip mine to be just the same, and it's the same in this build too. It's the same trusty trip mine we know, although it's a little buggy in this build. But that's not what this next segment is about. It's just showing you guys for a comparison the trip mine, because the next piece of equipment that was cut from the game, it's I guess it's supposed to be like a different version of the trip mine, but it's this thing here, this bomb. Now this looks like the bomb that you would pick up in the bomb game type, but while it has the trip mine icon in the top left corner of the screen for equipment, when you throw it, it is actually like, yeah, it's just a bomb with a timer on it, and it's flashing red, it's glowing, and then after a few seconds it blows up. So it's actually a very interesting piece of equipment, but that was totally cut from the game. But yeah, that's it for weapons and equipment and vehicles. This next one, actually for the rest of the video, I'll be showing you guys some things that were supposed to be, or originally forgeable, but were not forgeable anymore in the final game. So a lot of these things, you've seen before, they still exist in the final game, they're just not forgeable anymore. But on Snowbound, these Guardian turrets, as well as the sensors next to them, they were originally meant to be forgeable at some point. And these little sensors in the ground, I never knew like they had like these really long legs underneath it. So it's pretty cool to see what they look like underneath. But even if you move these shade turrets somewhere else, they actually still fire at you correctly. And it's the shield doors also are forgeable too. Like all of these objects that were never forgeable in the final game, they were meant to be forgeable at some point, but I guess that was cut from the final game. Likewise on other maps like Epitaph, the grav lift here, also forgeable. Actually, all the grav lifts on this map are forgeable. You could move them around and stuff like that. And the platform here in the middle of the map, that's also forgeable too. And it's actually pretty cool. Like there's so many objects that were meant to be forgeable, but were not. And since MCC Halo 3 got a lot of new forgeable objects recently, it would be really awesome if a lot of this stuff was added to MCC as well, or enabled to be forgeable on MCC. So the next one here is this giant bridge, the drop bridge or whatever you want to call it, on the map Last Resort. Also at one point meant to be forgeable, and yeah, you could it was actually semi-forgeable on Halo 2 Anniversary on MCC. But anyways, yeah, so you can move it around, and then you could create like new, yeah, you could like change the map a lot with this. And it's just, it's unfortunate that it wasn't made forgeable anymore. I'm not sure why, but it's just the way it was. Now, unfortunately, the gates on this map are not forgeable, but this little window thing, this window shield blocker, whatever you want to call it, is forgeable. And of course, you can move it other places of the map and create like temporary cover or something like that. But yeah, so also forgeable. On the map High Ground, unfortunately, just like with Last Resort, the gate here is not forgeable. However, on this map there is one forgeable thing. It's these gates here, the fence, these fence doors or whatever. They could be moved around, and when you move them somewhere else, they still work just fine. You could still walk to them and open them. You could essentially create like a new gate fence somewhere else like this. So again, that'll be really nice to have to be forgeable on MCC for Halo 3. Now in Valhalla, just like with Epitaph, the grav lift is forgeable, and by doing this, you actually see the true form of the grav lifts on Valhalla. It's just this little cube here. That's what the grav lifts actually are on Valhalla. Not those things you see over there. Those, those glowing grav lifts. That's not really the grav lift. And with those cubes moved away, the grav lift here no longer functions, even though visibly it looks like it's functioning. So, little fun fact there, I guess. And the last forgeable object on Valhalla that's normally not forgeable on the final version of Halo 3 is these trees here. Only the trees that that are movable, like when you drive a vehicle into it, the trees bend a little bit. Only those trees are actually forgeable, but the rest are not. But as you can see, you can move these trees around, and yeah, you could do whatever you want with them. and that's the last of the forgeable objects on the beta, at least. So, like I said, it would be really cool if all these objects could be forgeable again on the main version of Halo 3 on MCC. But anyways, aside from that, that basically wraps up for this video. That's a lot of the interesting, never-before-seen cut weapons, vehicles, and equipment on the Halo 3, the new Halo 3 beta. Hopefully you guys did find this video to be interesting, and if you did enjoy it, then as always, make sure to leave a like. Leave thoughts and comments, any questions you have, or anything you want me to check out or experiment with or look into, just let me know in the comments below. But other than that, make sure to subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you all next time. Bye guys!